Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the YouTube show Tuesday Night Trek. Its mission, to catalog every piece of Star Trek media, to keep alive the spirit of Gene Roddenberry, to boldly go where no YouTube show has gone before. Hello there, and welcome to the Star Wars Guys YouTube channel where the Force is family, and welcome back to yet another Tuesday Night Trek. I am Master Paul, joined again by Mike, Pacific 414, Cash Money, and Lord Crit. And I don't know if this hit you guys as it did me today, but this is effectively the last block of 5 standalone episodes of Season 3 that we're talking about before next week, which we're getting into Best of Both Worlds. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
Yes, and speaking of Best of Both Worlds, I have one quick question. There is an episode that follows part 2 of Best of Both Worlds, which I myself consider part 3.
We talked about arc. That. I think
the quote unquote epilogue.
Yeah, the epilogue.
Yeah.
Okay, we will include that one. We just need to make sure that Coach and Nick know.
So yeah, I was gonna talk with Spock about, since he runs things on EBN, we could do a watch party on EBN for that. The Discord,
Yeah, I would absolutely. I hope that goes through. But anyways, that is all for the future. So we are here tonight to talk about the last 5 standalone episodes of The Next Generation Season 3. Again, I'm a little bit slacking on the headers, so let me just look those up real quick. So we are talking about Hollow Pursuits, The Most Toys, Saric, Menage a Troy, I hope I said that right, and Transfigurations. So, as always, we'll go around the horn and talk about what we each think of these episodes. And Crit, you can kick us off on this one.
So this was I thought the first 3 were strong. I thought the last 2 sucked, especially the last one. And surprisingly, the Loxana Troy one wasn't that bad. There were some funny moments in there.
Mm-hmm.
I think the really strong one was it had to be Saric, and then Hollow Pursuits was the funniest. And I think it's one of the funniest episodes of the show so far. So, I am number 1.
Okay. Is that all you got?
I forgot. There's not really much to talk about these episodes. I mean, they're good. Season 3, well, not the first 3, but I really liked The Most Toys. I felt that dealt with Data and stuff like that. And then number 3, Saric dealt with Saric's emotional. He's getting old. He's nearing the end of his life. And he's kind of suffering Vulcan Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
And I thought the really last scene of that was really great. Of course, the Loxana Troy is just Loxana Troy shenanigans, though. There's some really good funny moments. They actually made her funny in this episode, so that's surprising, but it's still not that great. Transfigurations is all over the place. It reminds me a lot of a Season 1 episode. When you think it's going to be about one thing, it goes back to the other. And there was some weird biblical connections I didn't expect, and I thought that was out of place for an episode like that. I didn't know what it was trying to be.
Of course.
And and if only that guy was on there when Tasha Yar died.
Yeah.
yeah, Mr. Plot Armor.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Plot Armor, I can heal anything and save war from death. stupid. It's really stupid, bad writing. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's my thoughts on uh, Bring On the Best of Both Worlds, and that's my
Okay.
thoughts on these block of episodes.
All right. Cash, your thoughts?
Saric was the best of the block, but I enjoyed the most toys. I like that actor a lot who was with Data. He played a character named Donnie on Frasier. So the guy has a lot of range. Hollow Pursuits, I enjoyed Broccoli or Barclay. I found him funny and ridiculous. Menage a Tori was pretty good. I thought the Ferengi story was pretty funny, and it was nice seeing Riker beating that Ferengi in chess and him getting all upset about it. Um, Transfigurations, I felt the same way that actually Crit felt. It was like kind of like a stories to this healer and then this other the people who said he was a criminal, it felt like they were the Romans. So I felt a Jesus connection here, Paul, that I was like, why? Yeah. So, but that's pretty much my take on the episodes. Saric was still my favorite. I love seeing Patrick Stewart with all that emotion and how somebody would actually feel when if they had a touch by the Vulcan. The Vulcan touch is like you're seeing somebody else's memories and how scary and yeah, would that be for anybody?
Oh yeah.
The Romans.
Okay. Mike, your thoughts?
All right, Hollow Pursuits is a great introduction to Reginald Barkley. I know in this episode we get different names for Barkley, like broccoli, but still, it's a nice introduction to the character. Great performance by Dwight Schultz. So
Yeah.
this is a fun episode. The Most Toys is another good episode from this block. It's a great episode that shows Brent Spiner's range as an actor and also deals with captivity against his will. Saric, well, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Saric for me is a 5 out of 5 stars. Great episode, great performance by Mark Leonard and Patrick Stewart, especially when Patrick Stewart has to show that wide range of emotion. And we find out what's happening with Saric. Menage a Troy, you know, it's an okay episode. I wouldn't say it's anything special. Yes, it does have its fun moments, but it's one of those episodes where I can take it or leave it. And Transfigurations, it's an episode where honestly, I feel like it's about the evolution of a species in one respect, but then it loses itself when it goes into another tangent.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts. I think it is bias. I think for me, Hollow Pursuits and Saric are the two strongest of this blocks, with Saric winning out over Hollow Pursuits. Um, the Most Toys had an interesting message, but at the same time, there were aspects of it that I kind of found a little bit more dull than the other episodes. Menage a Troy, it's Luoxana. At least she's
Yeah.
more. At least she's more. She's less unbearable this time around. I'll put it this way. And
That wasn't your favorite episode? Menage a
Menage a Troy.
yeah. Menage a Troy. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Transfigurations. It's. I'm gonna start a hashtag now. Phil, I know you already put it, hashtag justice for Star Trek 5, and we will address that in a moment. But hashtag justice for Dr. Crusher, because she deserves better story episodes than that.
Absolutely.
What do you guys say?
I never saw the evolution thing until the last second. It made no sense. It just felt like it was trying to be a biblical connection, and it wasn't working. It was weird. It was bad.
Nope. Yeah.
All right. Well, before we get into the recaps, let's get into the chat real quick. Like I said, Phil McCracken, hashtag justice for Star Trek 5, hashtag cash money, love Star Trek 5, and hashtag Picard can't punch or kiss. Well, I have a double whammy dose of clips for you on that one.
Excuse me, I'd just like to ask a question. What does God need with a starship?
Yes, he can punch. Dark Scorpion says, well, good morning, Tuesday night Trekkers. Technically Wednesday here, but hey, how are we doing? We are doing very good, man. DJ Ronnie G says, cheers. Nerdporial Lifeform, who has relegated himself to the chat tonight because he didn't get to watch all of the episodes. He says most toys and Saric were the strongest episodes. I'd give the edge to Saric. He also says Hollow Pursuits felt hollow. I liked Barclay more in Voyager. And, of course, he's making sure to say, hit the like button so Captain Paul doesn't turn to the dark side. But DJ Ronnie G says, but what if clicking that like button causes Paul to become overconfident and he becomes the next Colonel Green? Forgive me, but who's Colonel Green?
I have a feeling that's probably connected to Discovery, but I could be wrong. I don't know.
Dark Scorpion brings up an interesting point. I think he's talking about transfigurations here. He says, I hate it when writers bring magic into sci-fi. It suggests they've run out of ideas.
He's evolved into pure energy. He's a healing man. They fear him. They don't understand him.
But this guy,
Cash Money smells like beef and patchouli.
I think it's time for another Star Wars therapy session for X-Wing.
I think so. And let's kick it off with this clip right here.
Like a panther. Yes.
But for real though, hello X-Wing, and hopefully this conversation we have tonight would persuade you in some way to give Star Trek a chance.
It won't convince him. I'd be shocked.
Never say never. Just like The Undertaker said in his Hall of Fame speech, right, Pacific?
That's exactly right.
All right, so with that, let's get into Hollow Pursuits. And so this shows a new officer that we've never seen. His name is Lieutenant Barclay. And the very first scene shows him in 10 forward, and he's having some drinks, and Guinan tries to cut him off, saying, you need to stop. You know, anywhere that you go, trouble follows. And he's like, I don't care. Give me the drink. X-Wing, the heck is Star Trek?
Much better than your current Star Wars. That's for
Oh,
From a certain point of view.
Shots fired.
From a certain point of view.
Call the Met signal.
Hashtag love Book of Boo Boo.
And of course, Phil McCracken's getting his shots in on X-Wing too.
Have you ever danced with a wristman in the pale moonlight?
Oh my god.
No, but I've stood on the corner in Winslow, Arizona, and it was such a fine sight to see.
Oh.
And that's for real, by the way. I have actually been there. So, anyways, Barclay is then confronted by Geordi, who is getting on his case, saying, "Look, you're supposed to be on duty, and here you are drinking. Get down to engineering." And he literally blows him off. He pushes him aside, and Geordi goes to get help. Riker's also in there, and he tries to be, the whole "I don't like your tone, mister" sort of thing. And it looks like Barclay gets him in like a full Nelson lock, and in comes Deanna, and the whole fight stops. He literally pushes Riker to the side, and Deanna and Barclay start openly flirting until Barclay is called to one of the cargo holds, and that is when X-Wing says, "Crit, is that Rissman in the spotlight?"
It's called the Mat signal.
You don't know
It's
about the
called-
Mat
Here,
signal?
X-wing.
X-Wing?
X-wing. I
Go
have
out
a
of
copy of that
touch.
picture. I'm sending it to you.
Da 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 da. Da, 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 da.
Check your
You
description,
call
bud.
you call it when you argue about helmets in Star Wars. Ridiculous, bro. Da 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 da.
So, anyways, he says I'm never invited to these kind of parties.
Because you don't watch Star Trek.
Oh,
But hey, man, hey, we're still glad you're here. All kidding aside. But anyways, real quick, ActionCom says the actor who played Sparkley was known in the '80s as Howling Mad Murdoch on the A-Team.
The
I
A-Team.
pity the fool that didn't watch the A-Team.
Well, then you pity me because I never watched the A-Team.
I pity the fool that doesn't start.
What about the unnecessary remake with Liam Neeson?
I've
see
never
that one
watched
either.
it.
I
I've
can't
never watched it.
watch it, man. I've seen like little bits.
So, anyways, continuing on, Barclay is called down to one of the cargo holds, and it's revealed that this whole scenario that's just played out is a holodeck simulation. And in real life, Barclay is this really awkward guy that is always late, never does a good job, and no one likes him. And he gets to the cargo hold, and Geordi and Riker are there. Of course, this is the real world, so he's not all brash and I don't care around him. He's nervous. And Geordi's like, look, you need to get onto the job now. And Riker says, I'm tired of seeing your name on report. You need to fix yourself before I fix you.
Yeah, there's him behind those barrels. I feel like that's going to be X-Wing at the Nashville convention.
Speaking of the Nashville convention, X-Wing, have you gotten yours in the mail yet?
I haven't got mine because I never bought a ticket.
Well, I would suggest getting on that as soon as possible.
I'm in debt right now. I can't do that.
So, anyways, continuing on, there's something wrong with their anti-grav platform or whatever it is, and one of the canisters, because apparently they're medical canisters from a certain planet, one of them is faulty, and of course O'Brien touches one of these canisters. Another crew member named Duffy touches another, and that's important. Meanwhile, Riker and that is a good point. ActionCom says these are supposed to be medical containers. Where are the blue uniforms? I don't know. That is a good question.
Where are the medical officers?
Yeah. They're probably off doing other things.
Probably
But
playing
anyway-
golf on the holodeck.
Probably. Or maybe they are having a nice night out in 10 Forward.
Possibly.
But anyways, Barclay tries to find a reason why the anti-grav unit isn't working, and he can't. Later on, Riker and Geordi are bringing their concerns to Picard, who is surprised that anyone on his ship is having anything less than a satisfactory mark on their record. And he even remarks that, his last command, Barclay got amazing marks on his performance reviews. And by the way, ActionCom says, playing golf, what doctors do best. Yep. So, basically Picard says, look, maybe Barclay's not doing so well because you're not treating him right. So be more friendly with him, and I want you to make sure that he succeeds. And so that's what Geordi has to do. And so he brings him on to this one committee meeting where he and the other engineering officers and Wesley, who is, of course, down there because we need something for Wesley to do, they're trying to figure out what happened with the anti-grav unit, and they can't, and none of the, can figure it out. Later on, there's a scene where it looks like that Barclay is talking with Deanna in private, but in reality, it's another hologram. And suddenly the holodeck program gets really weird, where suddenly it's this lush, picturesque field, garden, whatever you want to call it, set in like the Victorian era. And suddenly the hologram of Deanna Troi has taken on the form of, as she puts it, the goddess of empathy. And it just gets really weird really quickly. Meanwhile, O'Brien, Data, and Geordi and Duffy. Actually, no, I don't think O'Brien was there. They're having drinks in 10 Forward, talking about, what's going on. And of course, they make mention of the fact that Barclay has an unfortunate nickname, Broccoli, that Wesley started. And suddenly, Duffy's glass starts randomly leaking. And they do some analyzation on it and find that it has been altered at the molecular level. But again, they can't figure out what happened. So, again, they ask Barclay what to do. And Geordi actually goes to look for Barclay and finds him on the holodeck. And clearly his fantasies are getting even more detailed and even weirder. Where now, instead of just this weird version of Deanna, it's literally weird versions of every single main character in this show. Dr. Crusher, Wesley, Data, Geordi, and Picard. In fact, Data, Geordi, and Picard are pretty much reenacting the Three Musketeers with Barclay. And he's like really getting into it too. Ha, I have you beaten, with his sword. But then he shrinks right back into his awkward, nervous self when he realizes that Geordi has caught him. Now, a couple things ActionCom says here. He says, this episode does answer a question. Are there awkward people in this universe? And it's interesting how it works in this universe. The holodeck characters are projections of how Barclay sees his shipmates. And then he goes on to say, I'd make Kurtzman look like a cockroach.
And then I'd step on him.
Well, I wouldn't necessarily step on him, but I would certainly keep him. You know what? I'm not going to say that. That's kind of mean. And you know what? I just realized something too. ActionCom, you give a lot of good insight. Why aren't you actually part of this panel? Have you guys thought about that?
He should be a part of the panel.
Yeah. So ActionCom,
I always saw him as the spiritual fit sixth member because he's
right.
He's the most responsive of the commenters.
He is. So
If not ActionCom, Baron Norman Tag.
Yeah. So ActionCom, if you ever want to join this, he says, I've never done a live chat. It would be cringe. Bro, have you seen this show? We're cringe all the time. Why do you think? Why do you think I collect clips like this one?
Anybody? What? What? Hey yo!
You think we're not cringe? Also,
We're
DJ
just some
Roddy
wild
G
and
says,
crazy
I
guys.
once accused him of being a bot. He's not a bot. Yeah, but for real, man, if you're content with just being in the chat, then we will respect that. So, anyways, continuing on, Geordi and Barclay are having a private conversation in 10 Forward, and it basically boils down to, look, Barclay, whatever you do in your free time in the holodeck is your business, but it can't interfere with work. Now I want you to go talk to Counselor Troy. And so Barclay has no choice but to. And Barclay basically cannot handle talking to the real Counselor Troy. Like, he is so... Like, it's very... The best
He's
way I can put it...
intimidated.
It's intimidated, but at the same time, he's clearly attracted to her by the way that he makes her appear in the holodeck, but he doesn't want to let on about that to her. And so he kind of just... I don't even know the right word to say. He just abruptly leaves the meeting that he's having with her when he realizes, I can't take this anymore. And he just goes right back to the holodeck. And this also means that he misses a meeting with Geordi and Commander Riker as far as what's been going, the weird things that have been going on in the ship, because another thing has malfunctioned too, in the form of Transporter 3. And ActionCom real quick says, I need some experience on something a little more private so I can get it right without embarrassing anyone. This is not my channel. I just want some practice first. Well, I tell you what, man, I did this once for Cobra Disney Jedi on his channel. If you ever want to practice streaming with someone, let me know and I will be there. Heck, we don't even have to, it doesn't even have to be on YouTube. We could like have a private Discord call or something, and that could be practice. But again, I want to stress, I'm not trying to pressure you into anything. Okay?
Yeah, just like me trying to pressure Cash into going to Memphis, which I'm still doing, by the way.
Oh boy.
Or you guys pressuring me into watching Arcane.
Yeah.
That's
Well, that was a
more
good show. You need to. Well, that's a good show.
Yeah, it was.
Now, if only Cash could consider coming to Nashville before the airplane prices go up.
ActionCom says, remember, the internet is forever. You're exactly right. It is.
It is indeed, man.
All right. So anyways, Barclay ends up being late for his meeting, and this is the last straw with Riker. So him, Deanna, and Riker go to the holodeck, and they see all of the things that Barclay has been imagining on the holodeck, including a very humorous caricature of Riker, where he's literally a tiny man.
Yeah.
And of course, Riker's like, "Stop this! This is embarrassing." But they're like, "No, we can't destroy these. We can't destroy these holograms. This is how we learn about who Barclay really is." However, Deanna changes her mind about that when she sees the caricature of herself, and again, she can't get rid of it. But
Nope.
she
So
literally
Riker says,
walked up.
relay that order to the computer.
Exactly. Like, it's literally a reversal of the it's literally a reversal of the conversation they were having earlier when Riker wanted to get rid of the Riker, Picard, Data, and Geordi holograms, but Deanna stopped them. And now she's the one flustered at the embarrassing image of herself. And she literally approaches it and is like, shut up. Or you could say, shut TF up.
Mm-hmm.
But they eventually find Barclay, who has been napping this whole time in the lap of his created version of Dr. Crusher, which I honestly don't even really understand why her, because outside of this, she doesn't play a part in this episode. We don't see any sort of interactions between Dr. Crusher and Barclay. So why is she part of these visions or these fantasies?
Because he
Probably-
hates Wesley. Because he.
Probably to give Gates McFadden some screen time, and since she was under contract, you have to fit her in somehow.
Fair enough, then, I guess. But in universe, again, even the thing of, I want to just stick it to Wesley in some way by making his mom this, that seems a little bit weak to me.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. He will get a spanking if he doesn't Muse's manner is eating his pie.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Mike, there ain't but one kind of pie that Kane and I both like. And I'm not going to finish that.
I'm not gonna finish it either. Nope.
If you guys haven't looked up moments of Raw or SmackDown off the air on YouTube, do yourself a favor and look it up, because that's honestly what got me into wrestling. But anyways, by the time that they find Barclay, stuff's really going wrong with the ship. The antimatter injectors are pretty much locked open, so the ship is accelerating into warp, like completely out of control. Warp 6, warp 7, warp 8, and so on. And Barclay has to help figure it out. And they figure it out because there was a certain type of matter that O'Brien and Duffy were contaminated with when they handled those broken canisters. And that bit of this bit of, I guess, radiation, you could say, had hazardous effects on the various systems of the ship, from the anti-grav unit to the glass to the warp drive. And they only just barely are able to fix it. And so, Barclay is thanked by Geordi for helping him fix the issue. By the way, ActionCom says the chemical was called Invidium. And ActionCom also says this is the first episode where LaForge called together his team to solve a problem. In other episodes, like Contagion or Booby Trap, he did it alone. Yeah, you're right. And honestly, I liked seeing it. Seeing the engineering team work together as a whole to solve the problem.
Mm-hmm.
And earlier he said something else too. He says, I wonder what the privacy mode protocols are for the holodeck. It's good that the computer doesn't talk about what you're doing, but it just lets people in without question. I think that's been a problem with the holodeck since the beginning, though. But anyways, the last thing we see of the episode is Barclay giving a speech to the whole bridge crew. I don't know why I can't speak tonight. And he's basically saying, look, I'm sorry. I have decided that it's for the best that I transfer to another command. And everyone thanks him for being helpful. And it's revealed even that is a hologram. And so the very last thing we see is Barclay telling the computer to erase all programs that he created except program 9. And I take it we're going to see what program 9 is later?
Nope.
Really?
Nope. I know what it is.
What is it?
My theory is it's the Troy program.
I could see that. But yeah, that was admittedly I think it was the funniest of these episodes, because Barclay, being this awkward little shrimp of a guy that has to help solve these problems and is trying and failing to balance his real life with his fantasy life. I gotta be perfectly honest, there were times I saw some of myself in him.
Same here.
So I think for this one, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
For me, it's a solid 3.5 out of 5.
Okay. Crit?
It's a 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5? Okay. Cash, are you back? Okay, he's probably AFK right now. So when he comes back, we'll ask him. And of course, Phil McCracken says hashtag Barclay is a hero. You're not wrong. He is in his own way. All right, next episode, the most toys. So the episode starts with Data loading one of the shuttlecrafts of the Enterprise with different medical supplies that are needed for a certain planet to help cure, I guess, some sort of fever, because that's what they always need medical supplies for. However, right as Data is about to leave the ship where those medical supplies are being taken, the deckhands, I guess you could call them, zap Data and render him unconscious. And yes, ActionCom, I did notice this too. He says, "What's the name of the shuttle that Data pilots?" Answer, Pike. As in Captain Pike, the man who captained the Enterprise before Kirk.
Mm-hmm.
I hope they don't screw up Pike in Strange New Worlds, by the way. Because he was
They
cool.
are.
What?
They are.
They are?
Yeah, I just feel it in the Force. New Trek. You can never trust what they're going to do.
Yeah, not to mention, apparently, did y'all see how that one Deep Space Nine actress said she would only return, quote, if it was for social justice?
Yep, and I'm going to be talking about that tomorrow on Pop Talk.
Yes, ActionCom says it best. It's Kurtzman! Actually, you could almost shout Kurtzman in the same energy that Kirk shouts, Khan! So, Data is taken captive, but it's framed as if Data was killed because they show that the shuttlecraft explodes. And of course, everyone is shocked that Data is dead, and they kind of just grieve him, but at the same time, they go about what they're doing.
And if you notice, the only one that actually said something after the shuttle exploded and everybody's taking it in, Worf. He goes, Data.
Yeah.
He's the only one who reacted.
And ActionCom says we should give Data a nickname, Dirty Data. He gets stuck with the dangerous jobs. Even Fajo knew this. Now, let's talk about Fajo for a moment, because actually, Pacific, I'm going to let you explain this one since you alerted me to this.
The fact that when this episode was originally filmed, they had one actor and David Rappaport playing the character Fajo, and then they brought in Saul that you're seeing on the screen right now to replace that actor. And the reason why is because the original actor, David Rappaport, committed suicide.
Yes, which is obviously tragic. We don't wish that on anyone. But we do have footage of the original actor, Michael Rappaport, and I'm going to show that on screen real quick. So let's skip to about here.
Captain Picard, what happened?
It's unclear. We're running a analysis.
We detected no malfunctions before the explosion. Everything seemed to be running as smoothly as the other flights. Were you able to save the pilot?
We detected no malfunction before the explosion. Everything seemed to be proceeding as smoothly as the other flights. Were you able to save your pilot?
So yeah, the guy that was appearing on the left is the actor that he was the one that was the replacement. The guy on the right was the original. So my question to everyone on the panel is, what did you guys think? So obvious, tragedy aside, who do you think played the role better?
The current guy.
Yeah, I agree. He really brought some extra slime to that role, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, he was. That's what I thought made that episode great, because he really did seem like he had everything and he could get anything he wanted. with the snap of his fingers. And
Yes.
it was played really well.
And
So-
he and Brent Spiner had actually done a play together, so they'd worked together before.
Really, what play did they do?
Let me try to find the clip, and I will share it in the private chat.
Okay, and then I'll pull it up on here.
Okay.
So while he's doing that, continuing on with the story, the crew of the Enterprise is basically grieving over Data's loss. We see a shot of Geordi and Wesley going through Data's personal effects, showing things like a deck of poker cards and chips, and them saying things like he always would fall for Riker's bluffs, showing a painting that Data was working on, which reminded me of that one time loop episode where they encounter the multiple Picards. Remember that?
Mhm.
And of course, most notably, this right here, the hologram of Tasha Yar. Now, Mike just sent me the clip, so let's pull this up real quick.
I really like the music in the episode.
Me too.
No, I'll tell you what. Saul Rubinek. Did anybody watch Warehouse 13? Good show, huh? Why did they ever took that show off the air? I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it was really starting to peak.
It filled up.
Yeah. It what?
They filled up and they couldn't afford Warehouse 14.
Well, that could be. That could be. Or they couldn't afford salt, one or the other. But,
you should have shot him in the transporter when you had the chance.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you an interesting story. Interesting to me. If it's not to you, I'll be able to tell because your head will be slumped like that. Saul Rubinek played Artie on Warehouse 13. He's a fantastic actor. He's not just a fantastic actor. He's a great writer, director. He really can do it all. He's very, very bright and creative. See, that's the look I was looking for. You got to do so, there you go. Saul, as great as he was on that show, I had already worked with him, as well you know. He was on Next Generation. He did an episode called The Most Toys, where he played Kivas Fajo.
Yes.
How I remembered that. Kivas Fajo, who collected things from the universe. And so he wanted one of a kind, and I was a one of a kind. So he kidnapped me. And he was absolutely fantastic in that part. But I'll tell you a story about that. You may already know this. But the role was originally, when we first started shooting it, there was an actor named...
Oh, I've gone blank. I knew you were going to look at me. But he was a real person. Yeah, Michael Rappaport.
Michael Rappaport, who, he was in Time Bandits. I think he was the star of Time Bandits. And
shot for a day, at least
2 days.
2 days.
We started shooting on Thursday, shot Thursday and Friday, went great. We said, we'll see you on Monday. Over the weekend, he killed himself. Yeah. And I mean, obviously, I was the one working with him, and I thought, well, what did I say? I mean, no, but I think it was a romance gone bad or something. It was really sad because he was a delightful guy. And everybody was stunned. Oh, my God, and we were having a good time, and he was just terrific in the part. And they didn't know what they were going to do because they had nothing else on the board. We had to shoot that show. So the director happened to be from Canada. And he said, I know a guy who could do this part. And I said, I know a guy who could do this part. And it turned out to be the same guy, and it was Saul Rubinek. Yeah. And the reason I knew Saul was because I did a play here in New York at the Public Theater in 1978, maybe, called Leave It to Beaver is Dead. It was Saul Rubinek, myself, a wonderful actor named Maury Chaikin, Mandy Patinkin, and Diane Wiest. Yeah. I'd love to do it again. It was a really great show. So there you are, the Saul Rubinek story.
Michael Rappaport, yeah. But it's the dynamic.
Okay, so I think that's enough of that. But
Yeah.
still, that that was a very interesting story to listen to. And just as a side note, Brent Spiner is really interesting to listen to as a person.
He is. And you can tell he has fun speaking at conventions, telling these stories to fans because he knows fans are going to eat it up.
Yes. Also, unless there's something I'm not aware of, isn't he one of the few from that show that hasn't started running their mouth about politics?
Not that I'm aware of. I haven't seen anything where he's said anything politically, and
I mean, I'm sure he has his political beliefs, and I'm sure that the likelihood is there that he aligns with that side, but he's not uber cringe level vocal about it, is he?
No.
no.
Crit, you almost sounded hesitant to say that. Is everything okay?
I just hope. If you've seen the Shawshank Redemption, I just think of what Morgan Freeman says at the end. He's like, I just hope. I just hope.
Fair enough. ActionCom, by the way, says he was great in... Are you talking about Saul or Brent Spiner?
Brent Spiner is who he's talking about.
Brent Spiner.
He says he was great in Night Court.
He was. Look up clips of Brent Spiner in Night Court, and you'll laugh your,
X-Wing is still around. Oh, he's sneaking in there. Okay.
Hey, X-Wing.
Sneaky snake. Sneaky snake. Yeah.
Yes. By the way, X-Wing, you will want to be practicing your Mario Kart skills for Nashville because I've been challenged by Crit to Mario Kart, and I'm not facing him alone.
Oh,
No.
wow.
No, we need Father to feed the ravens. So yeah, if I can get you to get in his way, and then you guys crash and burn behind me.
So, anyways, continuing on. Another thing, ActionCom says, I guess talking about Fajo, he says he would have seen Truly Alien going under the original actor, and he says he would have seen Truly Alien, and the Star Trek TOS used small people as well. And he gives the example of Journey to Babel. I was thinking more along the lines of the Corbomite maneuver, but yes. Oh, and by the way, Captain Trek has joined us in the chat. What's up, man?
Hey.
And X-Wing says, I will referee. You haven't earned a spot in my racing grid.
Well, maybe your racing grid's
Who are you
not
talking
that
about?
good.
Me or Crit? Because if I remember correctly, almost every single time I race you, X-Wing, I win by a mile and a half.
But now, wait a second. How does he even know about Mario Kart anymore? He plays so much Fortnite all the time. I think that's really the only game. Oh, that and Lego Star Wars.
I think you can play Mario Kart in Fortnite, can't you? You played Battlefront 2 for like 30 minutes, and then you went back to Fortnite.
Join my racing grid.
No.
Oh, dude,
you're not good enough yet.
But for real, X-Wing, if you do play Battlefront 2, wait, Crit, you did say Battlefront 2, right? Or was it Battlefield?
Yeah, he's playing Battlefront 2.
Okay. X-Wing, if you're ever interested in playing Battlefront 2 with me, I have something of a group that I play with. Crit's part of it. My friend in real life, Ian, is part of it. We do a lot of heroes versus villains stuff. So if you ever want to be part of that, just let me know. I do stream it on Master Paul's Game Room. So anyways, while the crew is grieving for Data's loss, Data wakes up on the ship and he is confronted by Fajo, who is so happy that he has Data. And much like other people before him, he doesn't see Data as his own person. He sees him as an object. And where Starfleet may have seen him as a tool, looking back at Measure of a Man or Offspring. This guy just sees him as a piece of merchandise. And Data is, of course, by his programming, not going along with any of it at all. And we see different scenes of them trying to first off, he wants Data not to wear the Starfleet uniform anymore. He wants them to wear a specific set of clothes. And Action Com says the battle of wills with Data is fascinating. Yes, it is. Because one of the things that Data will not change clothes willingly. So what does Fajo do but spill acid on Data's uniform? And he says, this is safe for your skin, but it's going to eat away your uniform. So now you have no choice but to put on these clothes, because I don't think your programming will let you walk around in the nude. And so he also wants Data to just sit on this chair, and Data, of course, won't do it. There's even a scene where Fajo brings one of his collector friends to see Data, and Data literally just stands there, not moving, literally as if he had turned himself off, which I'm pretty sure he did. So after this, they're still trying to figure out what happened. Geordi's trying to figure out what happened. He's running the whole scenario in his head, trying to figure out what happened. Meanwhile, Worf is talking with Deanna about the fact that he has been selected to fill Data's spot. And Deanna mentions that this is the second time Worf has had to fill the spot of a crew member that's passed away. Because remember back to season 1, he used to be just the bridge ops officer that would sometimes sit at the console that Wesley sits at now. Then when Tasha Yar died, he took over head of security, and now he's taking over head of ops and essentially becoming the second officer. So what did you guys think of that scene?
I mean, I thought it was the natural progression as far as ranks are concerned. He would be the next in line as far as the bridge crew.
Mm-hmm. And Action Com has a question here. He says, question for the group. Would it be a good strategy for Data to trash the collection room, hold the unique and one-of-a-kind valuables hostage? That's what I'd do. Especially since admittedly nothing in there would have been of value to me personally. Like, I don't care about vases. I don't care about baseball cards. I know you do, Pacific, being a baseball fan. But yeah, nothing, at least from what I could see, nothing in that collection room would have been of any value to me personally. So I would have been like, absolutely, I'm going to trash this place.
Yeah, I mean, it might have worked out, but that collector person was going to play hardball. He was going to find Data's weakness.
Yes.
Because he's a bad person.
Yes. And he does find Data's weakness.
Obviously.
Because there's a female member of Fajo's crew that Data has kind of been getting close with. And actually, no, it's not even that. It's just the fact that Data cannot abide someone being wantonly murdered by his programming. Oh, and by the way, Pacific.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, yeah, all right. Well, don't worry. It was a Roger Maris baseball card with the bubblegum scent still there.
Yes. And of course, Action Com says, I say guarantee disruptors for all. Second Amendment all the way. I agree that part.
Well, let me just ask Captain Trek this. What's your gripe about the Cubs?
Oh boy.
I'm sure it's something territorial, like he's from whatever area is considered the Cubs' rivals. You know how Boston's considered the rivals of the Yankees.
Well, he's a Royals fan, so he shouldn't care what the St. Louis Cardinals do one way or another.
Kansas City, okay.
Yeah.
Royals, man. When are they going to win another World Series? Oh, okay. Was the
Not
last
to
one
mention, I think the
2015?
Royals have one of the more underrated logos on their ball caps.
Yeah, it is a cool logo. I'm saying that as a baseball fan.
Yes. Meanwhile, Geordi recognizes what happens, and he plays back the logs of when Data would check in every time he went back and forth from that ship to the Enterprise, because he made 3 trips. And on the first 2 trips, he said almost the same thing as per protocol. The third time, they noticed he said something different. So they decided to go back and scan the wreckage, and they happened to also find the ship there. Meanwhile, Data is making an escape attempt with the girl that got threatened to be killed, but he gets caught by Fajo and his men, and Fajo uses the Varanti disruptor to kill the girl in a, well, I wouldn't say it's a conspiracy or that one deaf person episode bad, but it's still pretty horrific to see. She's literally she's literally disintegrated from the inside out.
Yeah. Horrible.
Yes. And Captain Trek says, I just like to give you crap, Mike. If Data had not been transported, how do you see this playing out, especially when the Enterprise finally picked him up? So we haven't gotten to this scene yet, so let me explain this before I give my thoughts. Data managed to grab one of the disruptors, and he has Fajo at gunpoint. And you can see, again, this is another great example of Brent Spiner's acting skills, where even though he is still operating within the emotionless confines of an android, you can still see that he is putting in an amazing acting performance here, where again, even though he is emotionless, you can see the wheels turning in his head. Do I have what it takes to pull the trigger on this guy? But before he can, he's transported back aboard the Enterprise. But Riker and O'Brien notice that Data is bringing a weapon aboard with him, and the weapon has been discharged. Riker asks him what's going on, and Data, kind of shifty-like, says something must have happened to it in the transporter. I think Data pulled the trigger, but basically Fajo got lucky that by the time Data pulled the trigger, the shot essentially meant nothing because he had been transported that much. What do you guys think?
I just find it interesting because I really think Data might have actually killed him if he didn't get transported. I really do. I think he might have fired.
Right. Crit, your thoughts?
I think he would have fired. I'm a little tired, sorry.
I got you, man. If you need to check out early, I understand.
Yeah, I'm gonna check out early.
I'll
see you guys later. For my other rankings of the other episodes, I'm gonna give Saric a 9 out of 5 or 4.5 out of 5. I'm gonna give the Luxana Troy episode a 2.5 out of 5, and then I'm gonna give the Transfigurations of Nazareth, whatever, a 2 or a 1.8 out of 5. So goodbye. Okay. I'm sorry, I was dozing off like literally.
It's fine, buddy. Don't feel bad.
Okay, bye.
All right, so that pretty much is the end of the episode, where they manage to get Fajo into custody, and they reveal that they're giving back everything in its collection to their original owners. So Crit already gave his ranking, I believe. I'm giving this a 3.5 out of 5. What do you guys think?
As am I. 3.5.
Yeah, it's a good episode. I like it.
All right. Moving on to the one that I am designating episode of the week, Saric.
Woohoo.
So, just a quick reminder for who Saric is before we go any further. Saric is a Vulcan ambassador for the Federation, and he is also Spock's father. He is apparently also Cybok's father, and that's really all that we need to mention about that. There's
nothing else to mention. Nothing else to mention.
Yes, there's especially nothing to mention about anyone apparently named Michael Burnham.
The only Mike you need to mention is the one on the panel.
Exactly. Who runs a very nice show called The Pop Talk on his channel. Go subscribe, by the way.
Thank you for
that. He's having one tomorrow talking about
Chase Masterson and her one reason that she would give to come back to Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yes. And I'm sure you would also be talking about what happened recently with Ezra Miller again.
Yeah,
Oh, boy.
I will.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
All right, so this episode shows that a certain negotiations are going to be happening with a species called the Ligarians, and it's going to be happening aboard the Enterprise. So, who's going to be heading up these negotiations but Saric? So Riker and Picard are in their dress uniforms, and they're ready to give Saric the usual welcome. His two aides, a human, and that I can't remember his name, and a Vulcan by the name of Sakith, they beam aboard to basically give sort of a preliminary instruction for what to expect when Saric comes aboard. They say, quote, "Saric is an old man, and he does not have the energy that he used to. So when he comes aboard, please immediately show him to his quarters and just let him rest until the negotiation times have come." And Picard and Riker are like, okay. However, when Saric beams aboard, he doesn't want to go directly to his quarters. He wants to go see the conference room, and at least from the outset, nothing seems wrong with him. By the way, hello to the Padawannabe. Thank you for joining us. He says, "Hail Trekkers." That's the second time we've been called that in this episode. Is that something we're going to have to adopt as an official nickname?
It's pretty much a nickname for all Star Trek fans, either Trekkies or Trekkers.
Yep.
Okay. So while this is going on, Wesley and Geordi are getting this pool ready that the Ligarians have to be in for the negotiations. Picard shows where the negotiations are to Saric, and he's weirdly pushy about how the room needs to look. And later on, we see another scene of Wesley and Geordi together. Wesley's trying to cut out of work early because he has a date. And things get very, very, very heated between the two of them. They get into a shouting match about it and start throwing some very personal jabs at each other. For example, Geordi saying that Wesley's never going to have any chance with a girl. And Wesley pointing out that Geordi had to find love on the holodeck.
And Geordi saying that he has more experience than Wesley.
Mm-hmm. And Riker comes in and kind of diffuses the fight just by looking at him. It's like, what's going on here? And Geordi calms down, but you can tell he's still very tense. And he's like, nothing's going on. And he just leaves. And he mentions this to Picard. Meanwhile, Sakith has been going around talking to Data about the negotiation capabilities of Captain Picard, although he stops himself at one point. And he's like, forget that I said anything. Oh, and by the way, Action Comp says LaForge yells at Wesley. All right. I'm going to play this clip just because even though it's not yet time for this clip.
Sir, I know this may finish me as an acting ensign, but...
Shut up, Wesley!
Yep.
That was the first season when, of course, Picard was always referring to him as boy. He was so...
Boy.
Always calling him boy.
Come here, boy.
Yes. I need to play God of War.
I need to finish it.
Action Comp says never gets old. Yep, it doesn't. So anyways, things weird start happening all around the ship. O'Brien and some of the engineers get into a big brawl in 10 Forward over a table. We see Crusher get weirdly angry at Wesley over the littlest thing. And of course, Deanna, being the empath that she is, senses anger rising all over the ship. And they're trying to figure out what's going on because, oh my goodness, we have Saric on our ship. We can't let anything happen.
Well, not only that, when there's that fight in 10 Forward, I could have sworn Vince McMahon was on board the ship because of the fight.
Funny you say that, because Action Com says worldwide wrestling entertainment. That's what that acronym says.
Because an officer was put through a table, Riker's knocked out.
We need another clip.
Heck was breaking.
I know this ship like the back of my hand.
That was just the perfect time for it. And Padawanabe says, of course Brian gets in a fight. Typical Irishman. Mm-hmm. So anyways, they're starting to put the dots together, and they're like, all of these random bursts of anger have only started happening after Saric came aboard. And eventually they put 2 and 2 together, because another thing that happens is there's a violin recital that, of course, Data's participating in, that Saric and his wife, who, by the way, isn't Amanda this time, because Amanda by now has passed away. It's another lady by the name of Perrin. And Picard is noticing that Saric is moved to tears by how well Data and the rest of the ensemble is playing. And of course, as soon as Saric realizes that he's shedding a tear, he leaves with his wife and his aides. So Picard goes to question. He goes to question Saric, and Saric really goes insane on Picard, saying, "No, I am not emotional. It is not logical for me to be emotional," and so on and so forth. And Action Com said it best here. Mark Leonard is really bringing it with this episode. Because let's face it, obviously this episode came out, I would say, before Star Trek 6, right?
Yes.
So it's not the last time that Mark Leonard would don the outfit of Saric, but it is the last canonical time that we see Saric, correct?
Actually, we will see Saric again on
Really?
TNG. Yes.
When?
In season 5.
Is this the one that Spock appears in?
Yes.
Interesting. Do they mention the disease that they have, which is revealed in this episode that he's suffering from Bendai syndrome?
Yes, they do mention it, but I'm not going to
Yeah, we're
say
not
any
going to spoil
further.
it for you.
Okay,
Like,
fair
he
enough.
keeps digging. He's like, I can't
help it. I can't help it. I like to know what happens next.
Come on, guys. I want to know.
Come on.
Yeah.
No.
I gotta have those spoilers.
That's right.
Come on, man.
Oh,
all right. I will wait and see.
You gotta wait, man.
Or I could just Google it.
You could, but then you're just spoiling yourself.
I know. I'm not going to do that. I was able to restrain myself in Arcane. I'll restrain myself now.
Good. Very good.
So, Crusher has her suspicions that Saric is suffering from Bendai syndrome, which she describes as a condition that Vulcans are prone to suffering when they reach past the age of 200. And it basically, the way they explain it is this, that Vulcans have the same emotions that we do. They have just learned through a lifetime of training and discipline to repress those emotions. However, at a certain age, under Bendai syndrome, they start to lose their emotional control, and it just keeps slipping away more and more and more. And they even talk to Perrin and the aides saying, yeah, he does have this condition. We knew about it the whole time, but we wanted to let him have this mission because he's going to retire after this. We basically wanted to let him go out with his dignity, which when they said that, we wanted him to keep his dignity, reminded me a lot of what ActionCom says here, Alzheimer's. So, what did you guys think of the idea of this disease being a parallel to Alzheimer's and how the allegory was executed?
I thought it was done very well. This episode in itself is very powerful.
It is.
It
And
is.
we ain't even gotten to the most powerful part yet.
There's a lot of great raw emotion in this episode.
Oh, yes. And of course, Phil McCracken says Crusher can kiss better than Picard.
Here we go. Yep.
Way to go, Phil. You had to ruin a tender moment. So anyways, eventually, Saric breaks his facade and kind of comes to grips with the fact that he does indeed have this disease because he just could not comprehend it before because his Vulcan mind being so logical, and given that the disease was progressing so slow, he really could not comprehend that he had it, and his wife and his aides were pretty much pretending that nothing was happening to him, even though they knew right off the jump what was happening, because again, they wanted him to keep his dignity. Now, real quick, ActionCom says Robin Williams went out with Lewy body dementia. So I'm going to look that up real quick because I'm not familiar with that. Okay, so
yeah, he was getting early signs of that basically, and that's of course why he.
Okay, so the first signs of Lewy body dementia, according to Google, are visual hallucinations, movement disorders, poor regulation of body functions, cognitive problems, sleep difficulties, fluctuating attention, depression, which that's a big one for Robin Williams, and apathy. So it honestly just makes what happened to Robin Williams all the more tragic.
It's horrible. I mean, he had kicked drugs for a long time, and then he ended up going back on drugs, and it's not good.
Yeah. And I'm no doctor. I don't know what all of the long-term consequences are physically to someone's body after all that heavy drug abuse. But I would not be surprised if whatever drugs he was taking back in the day ended up causing that, because one of my favorite singers and guitar players was Glenn Campbell, the country music singer. He was around the same era as Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, John Denver. Yes, Phil, John Denver is country.
Old country. Yeah.
Yep. But anyways, he passed away in 2016 after being diagnosed in late 2010, early 2011, he had Alzheimer's. And he was someone else that in the late 70s, very early 80s, was really bad into alcohol and cocaine. And I wonder whether or not that played into his Alzheimer's also.
Yep.
It may have.
Yeah, it might have. All right, Phil. John Denver is folk and old country. Get it right, okay?
Yeah. They're not mutually exclusive. They
That's
share a
right.
lot of similarities.
Yep. So you need to go back, Phil, and do your homework. And then when you're ready to talk to us again about these topics, we'll listen.
You just adopted that as a saying, do your homework, haven't you?
I know. A little bit, yeah. I haven't said it in a while, though.
That is true. Because admittedly, we're not talking about Star Wars right now.
Nope.
So anyways, what's the solution that they come up with to allow for the negotiations to still take place? Because they emphasize a lot that this negotiation must take place. Saric has worked 90 years of his life to make this happen. So what do? He mind melds with Picard, and basically Picard temporarily carries the burden of his emotional instability to allow for Saric to be of a clear mind so that he can take care of the negotiations. And while he does that, we get what I would consider the most raw, gut-wrenching, but at the same time, awe-inspiring and powerful performances of this whole show, where Picard is sitting in the room with Crusher, and he barely even acknowledges that Crusher is there because he's just feeling all of these emotions that are just washing over him all at once. And also on top of that, he's even remembering Saric's memories, and even saying things like, Spock, Perrin,
And Amanda,
I love you, and I wish I could show you.
Right.
And it was an absolute punch to the gut to see Picard, usually calm and collective, reduced to such a state. But at the same time, the fact that he is experiencing for Saric everything that Saric, if he was a human, should have been feeling this whole time. It's just layers upon layers of why this scene is so great.
And it shows what a great actor Patrick Stewart is. Being able to show that raw emotion.
And I wonder if, because he was able to do this, they gave him the scene that they did later on in the show, the whole "there are 4 lights" thing.
Oh, you're going to enjoy that episode when we get to it.
I'm looking forward to it.
Guarantee
Isn't that the debut of the Cardassians?
No. We're getting close to it.
All right, Paul, make sure he's not doing anything with Google. Check. Paul,
I'm not. I promise. I'm putting lotion on my elbow.
Mike, you need to check.
I'm not. I promise.
Mike, you got to take his computer away if he's messing around.
If you take my computer away, how will I stream?
I know. Just for a week. Just
But then I can't play Skyrim for Phil.
Oh no, that's terrible. I don't know. That's all right. Phil will play Skyrim. That's okay.
Yeah. Which, by the way, Phil, I know you brought it up earlier. I did see that Skyrim video you sent me in my DMs. I will check it out as soon as I can. So, anyways, eventually it's time to say goodbye. Saric thanks Picard for doing what he did, and Saric just goes about his way and pretty much retires from this point. And so this is, I said it before, I'll say it again. This is episode of the week.
This is a 5 out of 5 episode.
Absolutely. 5 out of 5 easily.
It's great. It's 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. I don't know, 4.8 out of 5 for me. It's just a great episode.
You just refuse to give perfect scores, don't
It's
you?
very, very hard for me to give a perfect score to something. It really is.
Kind of like it's very hard for Dave Roberts to give Kershaw a perfect, complete game.
Well, if Kershaw didn't have injuries, there wouldn't be a problem. So.
Yeah.
Too late, Phil. Too late.
Captain Trek says, sorry, I need to get sleep. I have a special guest on Morning Brew, 6 a.m. Central. Well, man, I hope you have a good night's sleep, and I hope you have a good show in the morning. And by the way, I'm sorry for missing Morning Brew on Sunday. I ended up needing a bunch of rest that day.
You have a good night, Captain Trek.
Yes.
Yep.
So, next episode after that is Menage a Troy.
Yeah.
And this is a Luoxana episode.
Menage a Troy.
Yes.
It's pretty good. It's better than the other ones that she's done. I don't mind her.
It's certainly better than the one in season 2. That one, she was at her most insufferable.
She's I know her character is supposed to be irritating. I don't know. I don't hate her, but I feel bad for Picard.
Yes. So anyways, we see that there is a certain dinner that's happening in 10 Forward where delegates from Beta Z, including Luoxana, are meeting with other delegates from other places, including the Ferengi. And there's this one Ferengi dude that was playing chess with Riker, and Riker beats him, and of course he's a sore loser about it. But meanwhile, another Ferengi dude is starting to catch an eye, we'll say, for Luoxana. And of course, Luoxana is having dinner with her daughter and trying to convince her, and basically having almost the same speech that she does almost in the other episodes of, darling, what are you doing here? You know, you don't have to be here. You need to find a husband. You need to have kids.
Little one.
Yes. And later on in the episode, Troy finally has enough and is like, you've called me that since I was a kid. I'm not a kid anymore. And yeah, I would get annoyed of that too. If someone continuously called me something like that, even though I'm 27 right now. Oh, and by the way, Phil.
It's disturbing. Phil, what is going on in your head right now? Does Cash Money live rent free in your head? Do I live rent free in your head right now?
Or is it that that Phil McCracken lives rent free in your head, Cash Money?
Oh, maybe it's the other way, yeah.
Well, what about you and Mexican Iron Man, Paul?
Who's Mexican Iron Man?
Who's Mexican Iron Man? You know,
or better
Nashville.
yet, or better yet, to put it as Conor McGregor did. Who the F word is that guy?
Oh, you know, Darth Poppy, the guy who's going to face you in Nashville.
I know. Which, by the way, are we still on to cut promos on your channel?
I'm still on for it. I just want to find out from the both of you what day you want to do it.
Let's try. Let me look at my calendar real quick. As far as streaming goes, I'm pretty much available Monday nights, Wednesday nights, and either Monday or Wednesday this coming week, or heck, even this week would work for me. Like, I could do tomorrow, I could do Thursday. Next week I could do Monday or Wednesday.
Let's try for Monday. I'll send Mike a message after the stream and see what he says.
Okay, and remind me also to message Echo Base about Best of Both Worlds.
Okay.
So anyways, later on in the episode, Riker and Deanna take some shore leave while Picard takes the rest of the ship to do a routine star mapping trip, and they're on Beta Z, and they're trying to have a nice moment together, But of course, the Loxana happens to be there setting up a picnic for all of them, clearly forcing Riker and Deanna to fall in love. Down beams Damon Togg, who is captain of the Ferengi ship that was there before, the one that has a thing for the Loxana. And he basically beams all of them aboard his ship. So Riker, Deanna, and Luoxana are now hostages. And shortly after they arrived, Deanna and Luoxana are then beamed to the bridge, but the dresses they are wearing are left behind. And this is where we learn a very, very important part of Ferengi culture. That apparently, in the Ferengi culture, women don't usually wear clothes.
Females do not deserve the honor of clothing.
That's what they say. And of course, Luoxana and Deanna react how you'd expect. They try and find some way to make themselves decent. And, it's just one of those things that they decide to give the Ferengi because why not? They're, at this point, ripping off capitalists.
Mm-hmm.
Freaking Ferengis.
Yep. So
disgusting Ferengi.
Mm-hmm. Or like C-3PO would say, I can't abide those Ferengi. Disgusting creatures. So, at first, the Enterprise doesn't realize what's going on until they get a notification from Beta Z saying that they've gone missing. So they return to where they basically catch up to the Ferengi ship to try and get them back. Meanwhile, Riker ends up managing to escape to play a game of chess with one of the Ferengi, but of course he uses it really to escape. And he manages to send a code letting them know where they are. And Riker and Deanna are able to beam back to the Enterprise because Luoxana basically says, okay, let them go, and I'll stay here with you willingly. But as soon as that happens, we get a certain musical number from Picard, and I'm going to show this real quick. We get this. Well, I gotta back up a little bit.
It's better to have loved and lost than never to have loved at all.
I'm not kidding. Half of the dialogue in that song comes from this episode. The whole, shall I compare thee to a summer's day when I have plucked the rose, such... And, 'tis better to have loved than lost than never to have loved at all. That all came from this episode.
Yep.
And again, go watch that full video. It's called Data and Picard by the YouTuber Pogo. It is perfection. So basically the whole point of that is because Luoxana sort of clues Picard into saying, look, if you want to rescue me, you need to pretend that you're in love with me and that you want to win me back. So Picard does oh my goodness, Phil. Tell me you're not serious. Because now you've not just insulted my musical tastes, you've insulted Black Dragon's musical taste, because he's the one that shared that with me.
Oh, Philly. Time for a timeout.
Black Dragon's not going to care, I know. But anyways, basically the plan works and Luoxana is rescued. And of course, when they're still on the screen, they pretend to be in love. But of course, the moment that they turned off the comm with the Ferengi, Picard's like, okay, get away from me. Wesley, go back to Beta Z. Warp 9.
Yep.
Oh, hold on. Speaking of Wesley, there is one thing that I forgot to mention. In this episode, it's revealed that Wesley passed his written exams to enter Starfleet Academy. And all he had to do was get picked up by a certain ship to go take his oral exams to get admitted. And so this episode, the B story, is about him saying goodbye to everyone. But he ends up missing his transport to help stay behind and find Riker and Deanna. But at the end of this episode, he gets field promoted from an acting ensign to an actual ensign. So now he wears the same uniform everyone else does instead of that ugly gray jumper. So because he stayed behind to help rescue Riker, Deanna, and Luoxana, y'all know what we have to do.
Yeah, we have to add it to the count.
Yep. And we have to play.
Sir, I know this may finish me as an acting ensign, but...
Shut up, Wesley! Boy, that escalated quickly. I mean, that really got out of hand fast.
Yes. And of course, Phil said hashtag Picard can't sing.
He was reciting a poem.
He
wasn't
was,
even
yeah.
singing.
That okay. Picard singing, what you just saw, Phil, that really wasn't Picard. That was Pogo manipulating Picard's dialogue into music. So that doesn't count.
Nope. But Phil's gonna try to dig deep
Although,
into it.
Now that I think about it, we did just talk about an episode last week where Picard was singing drinking songs with his crew.
Cheer up, my lads. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yep. And of course, Phil McCracken says, hashtag don't ever name your son Wesley. Why? What's wrong with Wesley? He was one of the best characters in Princess Bride.
There you go.
And hello to Apollome's Minion. I believe
Hello,
this is the first
Apollome's.
time I've actually seen you on the channel, so welcome. And I love the picture, by the way, of your dog.
Dog.
I think Apollome's has been here before.
If she has, I can't remember, but welcome regardless.
Yes.
So, final scores for this episode. I'm giving it a 3 out of 5.
I'm giving it a 3.
Yeah, 3.
It wasn't even close to as good as Saric or The Most Toys or even, Hollow Pursuits. But it was still enjoyable enough. It was good. I'll put it this way. It was good for a Luoxana episode.
Yeah.
And then finally, and Crit's not here to rip this episode a new one. I don't even hate this episode. I just kind of thought it was
It's all over the place, man. It's like we were talking about. It's like the Yellow Man group instead, but it's just one person.
Yeah.
It's like I said in the beginning. It starts off trying to be one thing and then shifts gears going into another.
Yep.
Yes.
So this episode's called Transfigurations. The episode starts with Geordi and Worf in 10 forward, and Geordi reveals that he kind of has the hots for a certain girl that's also in 10 forward, and Worf is giving him Klingon advice. And I gotta wonder, Captain Cavall, does this advice actually work with getting a girlfriend?
Why would you question it? Of course it does.
Have you ever used it yourself?
Of course I have. What Klingon warrior do you think I am?
Kapla. He says, myself, I give it 2 because it's Picard. What? At this point, whatever, Phil.
I know, seriously. Yeah, go sit in the corner, Phil. You need a timeout again.
So after this, Geordi is called to the transporter with Riker and Crusher because they have to respond to a crash site on a planet. Bob says, I've used Klingon techniques and I have the restraining orders to prove it. Remember, the men do not growl. The women growl and throw objects at the men, and the men recite poetry. Is that right?
That is correct. And obviously you have not used them correctly, Action Com. Otherwise you would have found yourself a mate.
Thank you for the guest. Oh my goodness, Phil. All TNG gets -1, so 5 is impossible. No. That's being unfair. All right, so anyways,
That's some good trolling there, Phil. Or
yeah.
trying.
It's a difference of opinion, man. All right, so they go down to this crash site and find this dude that is he looks human, but he has a different structured face, but he is in bad, and I mean bad shape. Like he is at the point of death. And so Crusher does a technique where she attaches some sort of sensor to the guy's head and to Geordi's head to basically use Geordi's brain waves to keep his brain active to allow his heart to continue to pump. When he does, this weird burst of energy enters Geordi's mind. And it's like he's a different person. You know, they show later on in the episode that he has a new burst of confidence, that he's able to ask out the girl that he wanted to. They go on a nice date together, and it's all well and good. And by the way, this storyline gets dropped about halfway through the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So Crusher brings the guy to sickbay and starts working on him. And strangely, he is making a rapid, and I mean rapid, recovery. Like he is 6 weeks, like he is conscious in less than a day. And his recovery, Crusher says, is like 6 weeks ahead of schedule. Oh, and by the way, Action Comp says, favorite line, "It is the scent that first speaks of love." I gotta wonder though, Caval, what scent is that?
Don't you know? The scent of love.
But you know what? No, I'm not even gonna go there. I don't want to know. All right, so
where is your honor?
It's not my honor you have to worry about. It's my gag reflex.
Humans.
That's probably the most Star Trek-esque dialogue we've had on here, just saying.
True.
All right.
I mean true.
All right. So anyways, Crusher is starting to develop something of a bond with this guy. And even Wesley notices this. And he's like, are you starting to fall for this guy? And of course, Crusher's like, no. You know, my relationship with him is purely professional. It's just that, you know, the doctor-patient relationship can sometimes garner a false sense of intimacy. Although clearly she was starting to fall for this guy, wouldn't you guys say?
Oh, yeah.
I think so.
So, other things start happening weird aboard the ship where we see that O'Brien dislocated his shoulder while kayaking on the holodeck.
First of many times.
That he's kayaking on the holodeck?
That he kayaks on the holodeck. And
Interesting.
he hurts his shoulder.
So, John Doe, because that's the alien's name, John Doe just randomly touches him on the shoulder, and this energy leaves his hand, and it enters O'Brien, and it heals his injury. And of course, everyone is fascinated by him, like, what's going on here?
Oh, even before that, O'Brien's screaming out, going, "Doc, I'm dying out here," as he's holding his right shoulder.
Mm-hmm. But at the same time, something else weird is that there's these weird cell replications that are happening within John Doe's body that Crusher just cannot explain, which kind of struck me as odd because clearly, being a doctor, she would recognize that it could have very well possibly have been cancer. Okay, real quick, Phil says, always remember the first choice for Captain Picard was a Belgian actor. His name was Patrick Bachot. I think I said that right. And by the way, he spoke French and is a Belgian actor and can kiss. I have spoken. Oh, Phil. We're going to have the talk. So anyways, continuing on, they're still trying to figure out who basically John Doe is and where he came from, and he can't remember any of it. He has none of his memory, although he does start getting it back at some point. Meanwhile, there's a ship that is coming in at a distance on an intercept course with the Enterprise, and they're not answering any of the Enterprise's hailing. Eventually, it's revealed that it is a ship that carries the same people that, John Doe is. And they're saying that John Doe is a criminal. So John Doe, he says, I'm not a criminal, I promise, but I feel like I'm here for a reason, and I need to figure out what that reason is. But there's also a scene where he tries to escape, and he's also starting to somewhat lose control of his power. It honestly reminds me, at least by how it's been described to me, by the way he goes through these pangs of pain, and he starts glowing. It kind of reminds me, at least, of how I would imagine the regeneration of Doctor Who would be. But anyways, he has a bit of a confrontation with Worf on one of the upper levels of the shuttle bay, and he accidentally lets loose some of his power, and Worf is thrown over the side of the railing, and he falls a good distance, and he lands on his back, breaking his neck. So he's essentially dead. But realizing he screwed up, John Doe goes down and heals him, restoring him. Eventually, he gets back his memory and realizes that there's a sort of evolution going on with their species, that the government tried to placate the people that are giving into this evolution, saying that it's not natural, that it's turning them into monsters, turning them into criminals, and anyone that says otherwise, like this guy had, is a criminal. Eventually, this guy gives into his transformation, and he literally turns into a guy wearing a full latex, like a full fabric bodysuit. I don't know what it's called, but that they put some glowing effects on. It looks ridiculous.
See, and that's the thing. In the original standard definition, it looked fine, but once you upgrade it to high definition, you can definitely tell it's just a suit with effects around it.
Mm-hmm. And so he just vanishes and goes about his own way, and that's kind of the end of the episode. So I agree that this is easily the weakest of these episodes. I would not say it's as bad as Tin Man, personally. But I can see why Crit would say it. What did you guys think of this?
It was all over the place, like Mike has said. It's just, you had this situation where it was like you felt like this dude was, he's a healer, and he has pain, and he's becoming this other kind of being. I don't know. I just felt they were trying to do some kind of religious situation with this episode, and I just don't think it worked very well. And then we had the other story with Geordi, and then that just vanished after a while, and it was like it just it's a mess. It just is.
All they needed to do was focus on one A story
Yes.
plot line and one B story plot line, and not try to put, a small C plot line or D plot line in there.
Yep.
Because once you water it down too much, it ruins the episode, and that's just what we saw.
Yep.
And, fine. He transcends his species. I get that, showing the next evolution. And I get that, every member of his species was afraid of him and the others that were like him. Okay. You're going to run into people in your life who are afraid of different things, afraid
Yes.
of
Yeah.
different kinds of people.
That's
You know,
that's honestly a big part of what our politics has circled around recently. People
Uh-huh.
not liking people's differences.
Yeah, it's gotten worse after the last few years for sure. But
Yeah.
yes.
All right, so let's see. Rankings, I'm giving this a 2.5 out of 5.
2.
I'm going to say 2.
Okay. So that's it for these 5 episodes, but before we go, there's one other thing I do want to talk to you guys about. Now, you guys already know, here on the panel that I have these, but I haven't shown these yet on stream. So the other day, I was on a day trip with my mom, and we went over to a city called Fredericksburg. It's about 2 hours from where I live, and we were just kind of bumming around that day, going into different guitar stores, which, by the way, that's where I got my 12 string over there. And we happened to go into this one vintage store while we were there, and they sold pretty much vintage everything collectible. They did have some Star Wars figures there, which I was this close to buying a Dooku figure, but I really don't have enough room for that. But here's what I did get. I got a book, a TOS era Star Trek book called Mud in Your Eye, which I haven't yet read, but the moment I will be reviewing it on here. But I also got this comic. It is a Next Generation era comic called The Modala Imperative.
Ooh, I like that art.
Yeah, the art. I mean, come on. Look at Deanna.
That's incredible.
That's
Wow.
pretty much the
Incredible
whole
artwork.
reason I picked this up. So I guess you could say this is sort of like a bonus review for this episode of Tuesday Night Trek. I know you guys haven't had a chance to read it. I will take pictures of each of these pages. That way you guys can see it. But
that's
Nice.
cool, man. Yeah.
so this is kind of spoilers, but also kind of not. One of the coolest things that we see in this is, oh, by the way, Chucky is on the back. But one of the coolest things that we see in this is we see a reunion in the TNG era of Spock and McCoy. And it goes exactly how you expect. Like, we see McCoy here. I'll even show you a picture. The first picture is McCoy noting in his personal log how he knew Spock, the different ways that he saw Spock, from murderous, in Amok Time, dying in Wrath of Khan, happy to see Jim again in Amok Time, reborn in Search for Spock. And then here is like the big picture that starts it all, where McCoy, who is the old guy standing next to Riker and Guinan, sees Spock, who's right here, walking in with Picard and Deanna.
I mean,
And so
look at that artwork. You don't see artwork like that anymore.
Here's even closer. You don't see artwork like this anymore in comics. I believe this comic came out. Does it say in like the back or anything? This comic came out in 1991. And yes, ActionCom, the banter absolutely is still there. So it's basically just Spock and McCoy reminiscing about the good old days on their Enterprise, but at the same time interacting with the cast of The Next Generation, including this really cool scene where Spock and Data play chess against each other in their head.
Very cool.
And they're like, they're matching each other blow for blow.
I can't wait to see those panels.
Yes, like I said, I will take pictures of these, and of course, you guys here that are part of the Tuesday Night Trek crew, you'll get first access. But if anyone else wants to see this, hit me up, and I will send you the pictures also. And real quick, ActionCom says, question for the group. Has anyone seen the Star Trek The Animated Series Next Generation cartoon parody?
Yes.
I saw a little bit of it until I realized what it was they were talking about, and then I stopped watching it because I didn't want to be spoiled for Best of Both Worlds.
Smart move.
So, but yeah, we will be going over that clip next week. Which, speaking of next week, we're going to be talking about the entire story arc of Best of Both Worlds. So this means it's the season 3 finale, the season 4 premiere, and the episode after that's sort of like an epilogue. And we still have lined up Coach and Nick from Echo Base Network to appear on that stream with us. I just need to get with them and make sure that everything's still good and that they know a little bit more in detail what's going on. So, aside from all of that, anything that you guys want to mention before we get out of here?
Well, I want to ask you. I know we haven't talked about Best of Both Worlds, but up to this point, what's your impression of TNG now that you've seen season 3?
Season 3, I agree, is an improvement over seasons 1 and 2, where they've shifted the focus now on the characters instead of the situations. The situations, of course, still happen, but now it's focused through a different lens.
Yes. And you're going to see TNG continue to add layers, continue to develop the characters even more as
And
we go on.
hello to Green Lantern. Yes, I absolutely do look forward to seeing this play out further. Excuse me, I have to take some pills before bed.
Not a problem, brother.
Yeah, it's part of this new diet I've started.
Diet. All right.
Yeah, mom's got me started on this jumpstart program. It lasts for 8 days. It's different supplements I have to take at different times in the day to help me start to lose weight. That coupled with eating healthier. I'm trying to drop some weight for the lightsaber fight.
Lightsaber fight, which
lightsaber
I will get in contact with Mike, aka
Is
Mexican
Mike
Iron Man.
Is Mexican Iron Man, is he more available on Twitter or Discord?
Twitter.
Okay. All right.
Because we will be having a showdown between you and Mexican Iron Man on the Pacific 4 and 4 YouTube channel before your big showdown in Tennessee.
Yes. And of course, we'll make sure that he knows that a lot of what I say, I'm not taking this seriously. This is all just for fun, and I'm going to treat it as if it was for fun.
And that's what I'm going to tell him in my message. And I'm also going to tell Baron that too, because I want Baron to be there too, to be our Gene Okerlund of the group.
His Gene Okerlund was impeccable. In fact, I'm gonna bring it up. The clip that came from your show that he was part of. So let me bring it up real quick, and then we'll end. It's funny you asked me to cut a promo, Pacific, because there's actually something coming up that I'm going to be involved in soon that is actually worthy of a promo. So let me first show you guys this. And I want someone to clip this. You see, this right here is a lightsaber, an elegant weapon for a more civilized age, not as clumsy or random as a blaster. And this May 1st or 2nd, I don't know which day it is yet, at the Nashville ICCC convention, the Echo Base Network meetup, I'm going to be engaging in lightsaber combat with Mexican Iron Man. Oh. And you know what? I don't even know why we're fighting anymore. Something to do with pasta being better than tacos, something to do with yellow lightsabers being ugly. But whatever, I am going to beat Mexican Iron Man one way or another. And that's the bottom line, because Master Paul said so. Boom.
You've heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. May 1st or 2nd, Master Paul versus Mexican Iron Man. Will
This is gonna
Darth
be a
Poopy
wonderful-
prevail?
This is going to be a wonderful match. There's no chance that this is going to be a boring thing. Both men are masters of the lightsaber. Who will prevail? Will it be the snarky young man there, or will it be the wise Jedi master in the form of Mexican Iron Man?
He's not
No.
a Jedi Master. He's Darth
No.
Poopy, or as
He's
he
Darth
prefers to
Poopy.
be called, Darth Poppy.
The dark side Sith. We will see if the light side or the dark side will prevail. Don't you dare miss this one, or you will be visited.
And that's all we're gonna see of that tonight. Like I said, his Gene Okerlund is just mwah. Like I'm almost tempted to be like, well, let me tell you something, Mean Gene, when I start my promo.
You should, because I'm going to let everybody here know that's watching right now. I'm going to let you know. I'm going to let Cash know. I want you guys to have fun with this.
Yes.
Oh,
and
well,
trust me, I will.
no restrictions.
I can tell you guys that it's been amazing that so many people have gotten to know each other through YouTube channels, doing stuff
Yes.
together on other channels, coming together in groups. I think it's awesome.
Oh yeah. In fact, Cash, you actually missed something like that happening last night on our Sonic 2 review because we had a
I
guy
haven't seen
join
the movie
us.
yet, and Crit will tell me. And I hope Crit comes back and watches the rest of this. Crit will tell me it's the greatest video game movie ever. I'm like, there hasn't been
he's
that
100% right. That
No.
combined with the first one.
The
But-
first one I enjoyed a lot, but my brother hasn't seen it, and so I haven't gone with him. And of course, because of COVID, it's like, your friends are of course afraid of hanging out with you because of all the nonsense that's gone on. But yes, I don't know. We'll see if I like this better than stuff like the original Mortal Kombat. The Silent Hill is probably the first one, probably the best video game movie I've ever seen. It was very good, and it was very true to this game. So
I'm sure.
Mhm.
But anyways, what I was talking about is the movie review aside, we actually had someone join us for the first time. His name's Jet Sparks.
Oh yes, I think
And
Chris told me about him. Yes.
yeah, he joined us for the first time, and he had some amazing insights into the movie. And then after we were done with the review, the stream kept going, and we just transitioned it into a chill stream. Which, by the way, speak of the devil, the legendary Tron was there last night, and he is here tonight.
Oh,
What's up,
he
Tron?
fights for the users.
He does.
We are proud of you, sir. You
Absolutely.
must always fight for the users, and we need to find a way. Well, the way Disney is now, maybe people are right. Tron shouldn't come back, but Tron was so great. Anyways,
It was. And in all seriousness, that's one of the reasons I'm looking forward to going to Nashville, because Tron's going to be there.
nice. Yes, dude. He will. It's awesome.
But yeah, it transitioned into a chill stream. Coffee on Korriban was also there, and we just talked, different things. Like we got to know Jet Sparks a little bit better, his take on Star Wars, the different things that he likes, and we compared that to the things that I like, and just had a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Which is how it should be, regardless of what channel you're on and what the topic is about. Have fun.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, guys, I think we're going to go ahead and end it here. So thank you, everyone, for watching this. Make sure to hit like and subscribe if you haven't already. I think we're going to, once again, forego the outro video just because it's getting a little bit late. But regardless, just remember, everyone, the Force is family. See you guys later.